Hello everyone, this is Angel, Assistant Professor from PG and Research Department of English, St. Joseph's College of Arts and Science Autonomous, Cuddalore. In this video, let's have a study about simple, compound and complex sentences. At first, let's see about a sentence. Sentence in simple. In simple words, it is going to be a group of words that makes a complete sense. A sentence means a group of words that makes a complete sense. Coming to the second additional definition or additional point regarding a sentence usually begins with capital letter and ends with any punctuation mark. It ends with any punctuation mark. Not that it should have a full stop, not that it should have a question mark. So it should have any punctuation mark. So this could be an simple additional point towards a sentence. Before getting into this actual topic, we'll get to know about a few kinds of a sentence. We are going to have 4 different kinds of sentence. One is going to be assertive or declarative sentence. Second one is going to be imperative. Third one is going to be exclamatory, and the final one is going to be interrogative. So except imperative, all 3 kinds of sentence could suit for this definition. So in imperative sentence, we are not going to have any sort of punctuation mark. Coming out to the parts of sentence. So we are going to have 2 main parts in a sentence. So one is going to be subject portion and other one is going to be predicate portion. Subject portion is going to help us identify whom or what the sentence is actually about. So we are going to get to know about whom or about what the sentence is actually developed. Coming out to the predicate portion, it is going to give us more information about the subject portion. And coming on to the additional information about the subject and predicate portion, subject will usually be a noun or a pronoun. Coming out to noun, noun is going to be name of a person, place, animal, things, feelings or an idea. So this is going to be a noun portion or a pronoun. Pronoun is going to be replacement for a noun. So subject will usually be a noun or it will usually be as a pronoun. That's all about subject portion. Now coming out to predicate portion. As a minimum cadre in predicate portion, we should have at least one verb in it. So the rest of the sentence is going to be considered as a predicate portion, and as a minimum cadre it should have at least one verb in it. That could be a simple need for the predicate portion. Now let's get into this simple sentence followed by compound and complex sentence. At first we'll get to know what a simple sentence means. Simple sentence is going to have the basic elements as subject, verb and a complete thought. So subject together verb and they are going to make a complete sense, and we are going to have only one verb in it. In simple sentence we'll be having only one verb. And then other words, it could be termed as simple sentence should have only one independent clause. In following sentence or in following slides, we'll get to know what does an independent clause mean. The very first time we'll get to know what does clause mean. Following that we'll get to know about independent clause. Now we'll get to know about the examples for simple sentence. Ram waited for the train. So here Ram is going to be the subject portion and waited is going to be the verb portion, and here we are having only one verb, which means that it is going to be a simple sentence, an example for a simple sentence. And this very first example is having a completed thought. So the message is conveyed properly. Ram waited for the train. Now look at the second example. The train was late. And again here we are going to have only one verb. The verb part is going to be here was. Now let's see what does a verb mean. Verb is going to be an action term, right? Only verb is going to get applicable with or get suited up with the tenses. All 3 tenses are going to get applied only in verb. And coming to the second definition for verb. Verb is going to tell about the state of being. Verb is going to get defined as an action term, and it is going to tell about the state of being, and it is also going to tell about the possession, the things that we possess. It is also going to tell about the things that we possess. And the final universal point, like as I said earlier, this verb is going to get applied with the tenses. Only tenses could get applied with the verb. Right. Now let's get into this clause. We'll get to know what does clause mean. A clause is going to be a combination of words, a group of words that makes a sentence. A sentence which should make a complete sense. That's it. So it consists of a subject and a predicate portion. But the difference between a sentence and a clause could be that a clause is going to make us give us a complete thought at times, and at times it need not give us complete thought. But a sentence will always give us a complete thought. So this could be the difference between a clause and a sentence. Sentence will always give a complete thought. So it is going to have a subject and a predicate portion, and it will always give us a completed thought. But whereas clause, no, it is also going to have a subject and a verb, but at times it might give us a complete thought, or at times it may not give us a complete thought, which means that we are going to have two types of clause. One is going to be main clause or independent clause. So one is going to be main clause or independent clause, and the other one is going to be subordinate clause or an independent clause. So first one is going to be main clause or independent clause. Second one is going to be subordinate clause or dependent clause. So in general now we'll be actually addressing all these things, all these clauses as main clause and subordinate clause, and we could actually name it as like we might also call it as independent clause instead of main clause, and dependent clause instead of subordinate clause. Now we'll get over to the few things that we have to focus in a simple sentence. So in order to find or in order to frame a simple sentence, we'll see actually few supporting points that would help us out, or that we have to keep it in our mind when framing out a sentence. Very first point, a simple sentence should have at least one subject and one predicate. It should have one subject and one predicate, and it should contain only one independent clause, and it should also express a complete thought. Independent clause, in other terms, it's going to give us a complete sense. So it is going to be, both are going to be in equivalent way. And coming out to the final thing that you have to remember when framing out a simple sentence. A simple sentence can be a declarative sentence, an interrogative sentence, or an exclamatory sentence, and not an imperative sentence. So this is what I said in the very beginning. A simple sentence can be a declarative or assertive sentence, or an interrogative sentence, or an exclamatory sentence, and not an imperative sentence, because here in imperative sentence we are not going to have a subject portion, because even neglecting the subject portion, still the message is conveyed properly in an imperative sentence. So the condition for having a simple sentence or a clause, it should have a verb in it, it should have a subject in it. So this subject portion is not going to get presented here in this imperative sentence. So we are not going to add this sentence for a clause or for a simple sentence. Now we'll get to know the examples of a simple sentence. My father is a doctor. So here is going to be the verb portion. We are having only one verb, and the message is conveyed properly. We are having the subject portion as my father, and here as a predicate portion a doctor. So the meaning is conveyed properly. So this is going to be an example for simple sentence. Now look at the following examples. I am 10 years old. So I is going to be the subject portion, it is going to be a pronoun part, and am is going to be a verb, and the rest of the sentence is going to be a predicate portion. I am 10 years old is going to be a predicate portion. So it's going to be a perfect example for simple sentence. So follow the examples. Now we'll go to the next kind of sentence, going to be compound sentence. So compound sentence is going to be a sentence that has more than one main clause. So here we are going to again have only independent clause, and we are not going to have any dependent clause or subordinate clause. And here more than one main clause we are going to have in a sentence, and which means that more than one sentence, in more than one sentence, the meaning is conveyed in a right way. It should have at least two main clause in it, and both the clauses are going to get combined using an coordinating conjunction. Now we'll have an example. Just look at the example. I've given here few examples. Look at the very first example. Joe waited for the train, but the train was late. Now look at the very first portion. Joe waited for the train. So here Joe is going to be the subject portion, waited is going to be the verb, and the rest of the sentence, waited for the train, is going to be the predicate portion. So the message is conveyed at the full stretch. The message is conveyed properly. So this one is going to be an independent clause. Now come over to the rest part of the sentence. But the train was late. Still the message is conveyed properly. The train was late. Again the train is going to be the subject portion. Was late is going to be the predicate portion. The train was late again conveys the complete sense, and again it is going to be an independent clause. So both the independent clause are being connected using this but term. So here both the independent clause are connected using the conjunction, and again it is going to be an example for compound sentence. Compound sentence is going to have two independent clause, and both the clauses are going to get connected using an conjunction. So now look at the following examples. I looked for Mary and Samantha at the bus station, but they arrived at the station before noon and left on the bus before I arrived. So still the message is conveyed properly. Now look here. I look for Mary and Samantha at the bus station. So this can be one particular sentence. The message is conveyed properly. Both of them arrived at the bus station. Now I was looking for them in the bus station. So the message is conveyed properly. Now look at the following sentence. But they arrived at the station before noon and left on the bus before I arrived. So they arrived to the station and they left before I reached the station. Still the message is conveyed properly. So this one is going to be the second independent clause. Both the independent clause are getting connected here. So all this thing is going to be example for compound sentence. Now look at the following example. Now we'll go on to the next sentence. It's going to be a complex sentence, and this one is going to be something very new that we read. A complex sentence should have a main clause and a subordinate clause. So here, so far we have just seen about the main clause or the independent clause. Now for the very first time, we are getting to know about the subordinate clause. A complex sentence should have a main clause and a subordinate clause. So both the types of clause are going to get presented only in this complex sentence and not in any other sentence. Not in simple sentence and not in compound sentence. And we are going to witness both the types of clause in this complex sentence. So two clauses can be combined using a subordinating conjunction or a correlative conjunction. Now we will see an example. Don't leave the restaurant. Okay, don't leave the restaurant. Okay, the message is conveyed properly. Okay, until the dishes here are washed. The dishes here are washed. So now look at the example here. Don't leave the restaurant. Here the message is conveyed properly. But coming to the rest part of the sentence, still the message is not yet conveyed properly. Now look at the sentence. Second example. I saw him going to work in the morning. I saw him going to work in the morning. So this is going to be one clause. When I was going to school. Here the sentence is not completed in a proper way. It still needs word to get itself completed. So this one is going to be an subordinate clause, and the very first part is going to be an independent clause. Now look at the following example. While I was cooking, he was still playing games on the computer. Although I miss him so much, I cannot go to him because I do not have money. So all these things are going to be an example for complex sentence, because here both the clauses are going to get present. Both the independent clause and dependent clause both are going to get presented. Whereas this independent clause, without even having any addition, it is going to convey the right meaning. But whereas this dependent clause, it still need words to get itself completed. Now we'll have a few exercise part. Just have a look at the exercise part here. and just look for the answers. I have the following slide, I have the answers. Now look at the answers.